Percy Jackson and the Chalice of the Gods has now released, and like all of you, I read it as soon as I could. So, let's just get down to business. This review will be spoiler light, but I will be giving some early plot details, so turn away now if that's something you want to avoid. First and foremost, this book is part of a trilogy, with a second book announced at the time of writing this. It's kind of a side story that takes place after Heroes of Olympus, and the book opens up with a dedication to Walker, Aryan, and Leah, the actors of the trio from the Disney Plus show, and that is just so sweet. We see Percy bumbling his way through high school, and he's doing rather well at getting by. But then he gets an unexpected invitation to a meeting with Poseidon, who informs him of another job he unfortunately has to do. He needs 3 letters of recommendation, each from a god, to get into New Rome University, and each must be earned with a task. Fortunately, one shows up almost immediately asking for Percy's help, and Annabeth and Grover are there to support him just like old times. So what's the task? Ganymede, the cupbearer of the gods, has lost his chalice and he needs specifically Percy's help to get it back. Why Percy? Because the cup can grant immortality to any mortal who drinks from it, and Percy is the only demigod who's been known to turn down immortality when offered. With a first quest and possible letter of recommendation, Percy and co set out. In between Percy's school life, that is, since this is during the high school semester. With all that in mind, this book really does feel like a traditional Percy Jackson story with the same characters, but also not. On the yes side, it is first person from Percy's perspective. He's still sassy with all the craziness that comes into his life, and Annabeth and Grover are still very recognizable with their same quirks and personalities. But intelligently, Rick made a point that these characters have grown up over the years. They're more confident and mature, even if they've remained the same at their core, which I appreciate. It acknowledges that this book is a continuation of the story without just doing the same thing as before. Another thing I appreciate is the scale of the quest. Much like the Sun and the Star, the team isn't going across the country to save the world, they're just going about Manhattan to various places of interest. All of this contributes to the book feeling like what it is, an epilogue, or at least the first part of one. Something that isn't necessarily essential to the story, but still something that fans can indulge in if they want to, even though thanks to Trials of Apollo, we all know everything works out in the end. But there are a few points I'd like to make here, such as how this trilogy hopefully avoids unnecessary franchising. If you've seen my comments on That PJO Guy and A Healthy Dose of France channels, you know that this is a huge pet peeve I have with the entertainment industry. Primarily with film franchises, but it can happen to TV shows too. Aside from rare exceptions like Back to the Future, for now at least, there is not a single mainstream film franchise that wasn't milked unnecessarily to the detriment of the story. Alien, Terminator, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, because of the Hobbit trilogy. Or at this point, the MCU. It's resulted in me personally avoiding most mainstream IPs like the plague, with rare exceptions. Why I have this reaction is a very long video for another day. But for now, I'll admit I'm a bit skeptical of getting 3 books just to coincide with the release of each season of the show. Rick has approached extending the existing story in a natural way, and unlike those film franchises, he doesn't crank everything up to the max just to have a higher financial return. No reviving previously defeated villains, no bringing in bigger and better villains, and no continuing character arcs that already concluded. And for that reason, I've still got some faith that this won't lead to harming the story overall. Though, speaking of the film industry, I can't be the only one thinking this, right? But was Heebie-Jeebies a subtle parody of Disney? No, seriously, look, it's a nostalgic theme park that relies on selling people their childhoods, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it also regresses your age and keeps you there, either working or paying money forever. Percy and co even run into someone with a Mickey Mouse outfit when they leave the building. Awfully bold of you, Uncle Rick, considering where the show is now. I can't be the only one who made this connection, right? Anyways, let's move on. Now this last section is going to be spoiler light, but I am going to be talking about the ending, so vague spoiler warning. The climax is great. It has Percy embrace growing up and the change that comes with it in what I felt was a subtle and effective way, unlike what the Sun and the Star did with its resolution, which I felt was a bit too direct. Another thing I really appreciated was just how tense everything felt, and again, that was without bringing in bigger and better villains or jacking up the stakes. but by giving the heroes a new challenge, mostly unlike anything they faced before. So, all things considered, I love this book. It feels like a return to form for the series without feeling forced. The characters have grown, and it's just as enjoyable as the previous adventures. I'll get to this on Rariverse rankings eventually, and I'll probably have to make an updated guide to the universe as a sort of addendum to my recommendation video. But for now, with the Disney Plus show and the other books in this epilogue trilogy on the horizon, the future looks bright. I am Kieran Mythos, and I'll see you all next time.